Hi, I'm Eric from Sharpen the Axe on EnterTalk Radio here with Billy Sheehan.
I'll move that mic out of your way so it doesn't look like it's coming out of your head.
Yeah, so I don't hit the back of my head on that. That'd be nice. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
I had some questions about your Attitude bass. You've been with Yamaha for, 30 years now?
Yeah, I think so. That's a long time.
Yeah, quite a bit. So
Since 84, so...
Oh, wow.
Yeah, even over 30 years.
Oh, yeah, this one, 32 or so.
I should get a watch or something. Something. I'm going to plug this bass in while you're speaking.
Oh, sure, yeah, no worries. So what brought you to Yamaha in the first place?
Well, at the time, I had a Fender bass, and the Fender are great. They're awesome basses. They're the iconic. This is basically modeled much after my original Fender bass, but all the modifications that I did to it, we included it in this because I made many changes in the old Fender bass. So at the time, I was looking for a company to get behind. Fender was in kind of disarray, and their basses were not that hot. If you look around the time of 1982, 83, 84, the Fender stuff was not that good. They actually had the tortoiseshell was like mimeographed onto plastic.
Wow.
for the thing. You know, they've certainly come back better than ever now, of course. They're a great, iconic company, but for a while they weren't that good. So I thought, man, I don't know about Fender anymore. So I actually looked at some Kramer instruments for a little while.
Oh, wow, nice.
But I went down to Kramer and I saw how they were made, and I said, I can't do it because they made a lot of mistakes putting them together. So the people from Yamaha approached me and said, we can make a great bass that you're going to love, and it's going to be awesome, and it's going to be the Yamaha quality control, which is second to none. So they initially made me a BB series bass. I used that on the cover shoot for Guitar Player magazine, my first cover on there, and used it a little bit on the Eat 'em Smile tour. It was great, but it was a little bit wider than I was used to with my old P bass. Yeah. So we basically, like I said, we modeled the P bass, and the P bass, there was nothing on it original other than the body and the ground wire. Wow. So the neck was a 68 Telecaster neck. So that's what this is modeled after, a big fat giant baseball bat. I had added a second pickup here with a second output for a super deep low end through a separate amp. So we did that here. I had taken the tone control off of this pickup, which normally has a volume and tone. Volume, tone, volume. It should be volume, tone, volume, tone. Also, I had done some scalloping on the frets here, so when you bend a note, it's a little easier to get your finger underneath there. Nice. Then, and the last 5 frets are smaller fret wires. It's a little more accurate in the higher register.
Interesting modification. Right.
And also did the Hipshot detuner.
Oh, nice.
And all kinds of different things. But the main problem I had with the Fender bass was the neck to body joint. So when I would bend, here, can you hold that for a second?
Absolutely.
When I would bend a note, the neck would shift in the socket like this.
Oh, wow.
So I would jam picks and razor blades and all kinds of things in there to tighten it up, plus stand on it and torque it down with a screwdriver. But I could never get it tight enough that it wouldn't move. So Yamaha came up for the very first version of the Attitude bass, an amazing new way of attaching the neck to the body. Nice. Second version, they modified it a little bit, and on this third version, they modified it yet again with 2 more screws that pull the neck into the socket.
I noticed they're in at an angle too for a better grip. On.
So it's actually a patented thing, I guess. They did that, and on this bass also they do an artificial aging of the wood in a process that they spent literally millions of dollars on because they make a lot of things out of wood. They're piano boards and guitar bodies and guitar tops for the acoustic guitars. So they can artificially age them now. And it's also vibrated on a little vibrating thing for like a day to mimic being played for a long time and being broken in. So there's a lot of extra things on there. So Yamaha has been great. Like I said, the quality control is second to none. Kids all over the world have this bass. There's a Yamaha Attitude Facebook page. Now,
really?
For people that have the bass, they go on there and we exchange stories and ideas and tricks and tips and things like that, how people are using it. So it's been a great relationship with Yamaha, and I'm pleased that it's continued this long.
Not too many players with signature models can say the whole community has developed around the instrument that they helped create. Oh,
that's cool, yeah. Well, they're a great bunch. And, it's not... I'm glad that the people that play it don't all play the same style, and they don't all play like me, and they've gotten adventurous with their creativity and used the bass in many different ways because it really is a versatile instrument, especially with the 2 outputs, a super deep low end. You can do almost anything with it, and I've had a lot of old school engineers tell me when I plug in at a studio, they go, "That's the best sound of P bass we've heard in a long time." So it's got that kind of P bass sensibility to it in a way.
Yeah, so it still has some original, some old feel to it. Now, I saw on Facebook that you had a lucite version of this made, kind of like the old Dan Armstrong's.
It's here, and I'm going to bring it out.
Awesome, right on. So, what? I'm a huge fan of the Dan Armstrongs, and the electrical guitar company makes them as well now. What brought you to getting a lucite version made?
Well, we wanted to do a Winery Dogs bass, so I needed a bass the color of wine. So we thought we'd do it in clear lucite that's red, the color of wine.
There you go.
So it looks pretty drinkable, but you'd chip your teeth on it if you did. It was pretty heavy. It's a hard. The acrylic is hard as rock, weighs a ton, but the sound of it. There's a couple songs we do in Winery Dogs where there's a lot of 16th notes on a really low spot.
Yeah.
And they're there, but sometimes they're a little fluffy and they're not exactly as tight as I'd like them. On the acrylic bass, it's rock solid. You hear every single note start and stop. The high end is a little bit different because it's not wood. It's a little brighter, a little sharper, not quite as warm sounding, but it's still great. I used it on one gig, Winery Dogs playing on the Monsters of Rock cruise, and I had this bass on a stand right next to me just in case. Song 2, it wasn't working. I could get rid of it and put the other one back on, but I ended up using it for the whole show.
Oh, right on.
It's heavy, but I make my own straps, and I make them out of this 2-inch or 4-inch wide stuff, so it's not uncomfortable to have it on.
Balanced and comfortable on you.
Yeah.
No worries.
Exactly.
So aside from the bass, you also have a line of signature effects from EBS.
I do.
So I know that their drive is one of the best. Your drive with them is one of the best selling. So what led you to making the what lacked in other overdrive units that made you design your own with them? What were you looking for?
Well, my original overdrive was a Pierce preamp, and it had 2 channels, a clean channel and a distortion channel, and you mix them both together with a master volume at the end. How much, when the clean on all the time, and then ghost in the dirty, and then I can turn that dirty channel on and off. If I want distortion off, I got just the clean, turn it on, they're combined. And that was a great feature, and I got used to playing like that. So when I'm doing the screaming wild-ass distortion craziness, and I got to shut up for a minute and pull it back down for a ballad or something, I just pop that distortion off, and I got a normal bass tone. So we kind of did that with that. There it is over there. I don't know if the camera can see it. But we did that with the EBS pedal, where we made 2 separate channels. One is clean, one is distorted. And each channel has its own loop. So if you want to loop some cool effect in the clean or some different effect in the distortion, you can do that. So it makes it real versatile. And a lot of the bass distortion pedals, they had a balance control, which for me, it didn't really work because I felt like I was always turning one down in favor of the other or backing one off in favor of the first one. So when I have separate volume controls for the clean and the distortion, so you get your regular normal bass tone, you ghost in as much distortion as you want, and your regular bass tone is still there.
Nice.
A lot of times you plug a bass in a distortion, you lose all your low end, and the band hates you for it, and they get thrown out. So this is saving a lot of bass player jobs, I think.
Yeah. Terrible reason to get kicked out of a band for lack of a clean tone blending in. So you do have other signature effects from them, correct?
Just one other one. It's the first version of that effect, which is a purple pedal. The new one is orange to differentiate. And the new one is just hotter. Plus, it's got a couple features that I don't think anyone else has done yet. We put the main drive chip on the inside in a socket, so you can pull it out and swap it out with any 8-pin dual op amp.
Really?
And tube screamers, any distortion device. Almost all audio has an op amp in it, and they all sound different manufacturers and different configurations that make them sound different. So we had one of the guys on the Attitude Facebook page got 8 or 10 chips and plugged them all in and did a test on each one to explain what each one sounded like. Wow. So you can really fine-tune the pedal to your own desires. You can make the distortion sound many different ways. So it's really, I like to make stuff that's really configurable for the user, so they get a chance to really put their fingerprint on it. They can make it their own, rather than just mirroring someone else's idea of how it should be.
Right on. And I know you use octave effects as well. Is there any plans in the future for any more effects from you? A custom octave? Nothing?
No, the one that EBS makes already is great for the low. I use the POG for the Electro Harmonics POG for the high, and that's great too. I couldn't improve on that at all. They're both fantastic. So I think this is good. I got a couple ideas in the back of my head, though. I won't mention just yet, but there are a couple ideas for things. But they're not necessarily audio things, but things just to help players do their gig. So that's the idea.
A couple of utility products, something along those lines. And I also heard around the way that you might be making a more budget-friendly version of the Attitude Bass. We're
working on it. A few years ago, they used to put out a cheaper version of it, and it's kind of good because it's as an entry level. This is an expensive bass. I mean, it'll last you a lifetime. It's worth it. It's handmade in Japan. I've been in the factory. You could literally serve food and eat off the floor. This factory is so clean, and all the guys that work there are older, real Japanese, mind-blowingly talented craftsmen. So when they do the work, there's no shortcut ever on anything ever. So those guys, they're not cheap. So the bass is not a cheap bass, but a cheaper version of it that they could do, which matches a lot of the features, and also makes it so you could also upgrade it later if you got some more money or wanted the better pickups. So you can put the DiMarzio pickups in there, or whatever. You can do that on your own. So I'm working with them to do that. We used to do it a long time ago, and they all sold out instantly. So we were thinking. I was trying to implore Yamaha to do it again because it might be good business and people would be interested in them.
It'll probably sell out once again as well.
I hope so.
How long have you been with Hartke now for your amplification?
Well, about 4, 5, maybe 6 years now. Yeah. I left Ampeg a while back. They changed their manufacturing, and I had some trouble with them. I hope they're in good shape now. I don't know. I haven't followed them. But Larry Hartke was kind enough to just call me up and say, hey, if you need anything, you don't even have to do an endorsement or whatever, but I'm here for you if you need gear. You just want to try it out. So I tried out about 5 different amps from 5 different companies, and the Hartke stuff was just rock solid, tight, fast. Originally, I used the paper cone speakers, which were nice, but on using the high drives now, which had that aluminum cone in there, they sound to me like the old JBLs I used to use in the 70s and the 80s because they had an aluminum cone and they got a little bit of a bright spot, and they're real fast. So as far as the speed of recovery of that speaker, after you play one note, it's right back in position for the next note. Having a single problem with any speakers. One of the amps that we were traveling with heavily and got beat up badly, thrown off an airplane or something, it got a little crackly, so I had to pull that up. But that's the only problem I've had with them in 5 years.
Oh, wow.
If it wasn't even the amp's fault, I mean, it got abused pretty badly.
That's true. Yeah, it wasn't any fault of Hartke's.
No.
Now, for the Winery Dogs, you do split your signal into 1 amp for the high end, 1 amp for the low end, and I think I've heard you also have a separate amp for all the pedal tones, right?
Yeah, for the synthesizer pedals.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what are you using on the synthesizer pedal side?
A company called Keith McMillan.
Oh, okay.
They make a thing called a 12-step.
Yeah. The little MIDI soft pad controller, right?
Yeah. A few years ago, I called Keith and I said, because he made a little MIDI switcher, which was the perfect size, and I thought, man, if this thing did notes, if you could just configure those switches in a keyboard configuration instead of 8 in a row.
Yeah.
So I called up Keith and said, any way you can move those to make them like a keyboard so you can play notes? He goes, nah, you can't, because there's right underneath them is a circuit board, and that's how they're wired in. You can't really move them. So I told him my idea, and I had already had one made by a guy, just on-off switches that were MIDI, just MIDI on, MIDI off, that I used with the synthesizer. A guy made it. But because the ones you buy, the Roland pedals, they weigh a ton, and I got to fly in a lot. So I had a lighter one made, but it was still just kind of handmade, kind of wasn't really ready for the road full time. Oh, gotcha. So I told Keith, but it would be great if you could hit a note and play a chord.
Yeah.
I was trying to figure out a way to have chords programmed in there, and it would be great. It would be small and be cool, and you could play the chords and play all the synth stuff, and it would be awesome. He goes, maybe, who knows, someday. So a couple months later, he calls me up and he made it.
Oh, right on. Wow.
So he did. He goes, I did it. I did your idea. So I got it, and now the 12-step. Not only plays a big giant fat notes like for the ending of a song or in the middle of a song, if I have to go up high, I can get the low note out of the pedal. But also like a Winery Dogs song called Regret, Richie plays piano, comes off piano to play guitar, but on the record the piano continues. So I can do the piano chords with a Wurlitzer sound, same sound as his piano, do the chords right underneath his guitar solo.
Right on.
While I'm playing.
Keep that going while you can.
Yeah. There's a bunch of Mr. Big songs that require the pedals, too. Like in the song where we used the drill, there's got to be a low note underneath it.
Yeah.
On the record there was. I held that note and overdubbed the drill part. So now I just hold that note, do the drill thing, get rid of it. Green tinted 60s mine needs a little thing. One little line that I play has to have low end underneath it, and a couple other songs we do that it requires. So it's been working perfect.
And in the past, were you using like a Moog Taurus or any of those kinds of systems before? Yeah.
That's basically where it all came from. But the Moog Taurus was always notorious because it would always drift out of tune during the show. So as you were playing, you had to kind of quick step on the thing with a tuner and reach behind and tune it. So, but the ones now they're probably perfect. I'm sure these were the ones from the '70s, the originals.
It's collector's items now.
Yeah, they are.
So, what else has evolved in your playing and view of gear now that there's so much available? Say in the pedal market, you go along the wall there's so many boutique makers available, and you've been with EBS for a while, but what has caught your attention these days?
Well, Electro Harmonics always has the wildest, craziest, most amazing pedals. They do their B3 pedal, which makes the guitar sound like a Hammond B3 organ, which is unbelievable. And they do one now that makes it sound like a piano also.
And a Mellotron as well, which I love that Mellotron one. Yeah.
So I always keep my eye on Electro Harmonics. They do some great stuff. I don't have any relationship with the company necessarily, other than being a fan and a customer. But there's a lot of great stuff out there.
Now, how about any modern bass players that have caught your attention? Anyone that you've been checking out lately?
Not really. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot of time to listen. When I do have time to listen, I listen to a lot of older music that I have in my iTunes collection. I have quite an extensive iTunes collection, so I don't. Once in a while, somebody turns me on to somebody new, but I can't think of any offhand. I apologize.
Oh, no worries, no worries. Paula, do you have any questions?
This
throwing you right into it. Yeah.
I was wondering, how do you, when you're going through just one amp, one input, how do you split it up?
On the stock bass from Yamaha, there's these push-pull switches. Mm-hmm. This one is also a push-pull, and that combines both pickups to one output. Cool. So if you don't want to use a double amp, you can do that. Otherwise, I would use a second amp. And if I'm only going to use one pickup, I'll generally use the standard P-bass style pickup for a normal, regular bass tone. In a clinic, because it's usually a little bit of chaos to get all the right gear there and at the right time, so I usually just use one amp like this as opposed to using the double setup, because it's just complicated and a pain in the neck to set up. So I try to make it easy on everybody.
And what's with the kitty?
That's Spooky right there. And I keep forgetting to put one on my acrylic bass, so I've caught some heat from some of the fans for not having a Spooky sticker on there. I promise I'll do it tonight.
On that acrylic bass, I mean, has it been everything that you hoped for in the first place, or have there been any downsides to it aside from the weight? Yeah?
It's awesome. I don't mind that it weighs a ton. I also have a double neck bass, which is two basses. And it weighs about the same as that. That's how heavy it is. Yeah, it's pretty heavy. But it doesn't bother me at all. Like I said, but my chiropractor has been talking to a lot of real estate people, because he's expecting an influx of cash very soon. So.
Guys, just going to get some money out of that.
After having that thing on my shoulder.
Now, would you ever allow Yamaha to make that a available model as well, or you won't keep that?
It wouldn't be up to me. If they want to do it, that'd be great. But it's expensive to make, and they did it as a one-off, just as a special project. They have a custom shop, and they've done a lot. I got an 8-string Attitude, a fretless Attitude, the double necks. Those are all just special for me, because I'm the Attitude guy, and they were kind enough to make them for me. But to mass produce it would be expensive.
Yeah. And
it's really hard to work with that material in order to screw a screw into it. I mean, they were breaking screws off trying to get the screws into it. So it's tough to work with.
Highly durable material. At least they can take a fall. I've seen that a couple times at least.
I'm glad to hear.
Yeah. Any other questions you got, or? No.
Silly one, I guess. I was watching a video last night of you just messing around with Paul Gilbert. And you're playing the same riff, essentially, and you keep going faster and faster. You ever think, guitarists just have it too easy?
Well, the guitar does have the thin little strings. And the bass has the big, thick, manly strings. That's true. But I don't want to make guitar players mad at me, because it's a guitar world. They let us live in it, so that's how that way it works. But there's nothing that you can't do on pretty much any instrument. If you look around on YouTube enough, you'll see guys playing an accordion through a Marshall and playing Yngwie lines. Anything can be done. So fortunately, I've played with some great players, Steve, Vai, Paul Gilbert, Richie Kotzen, Tony McAlpine, a lot of great players, and it's always been a fun thing to work with them one-on-one, to do stuff in unison, do stuff in counterpoint. It's always a challenge and always enjoyable.
Very cool.
Cool, man.
So you did release in 2015 an album with Winery Dogs. Is there what's coming next in terms of
We're going to do another Mr. Big album and tour.
All right, nice.
Which is very cool. See, I was going to surprise everybody.
This interview ruined the surprise. I'm sorry.
And then right after that tour is done, because we can't tour too much. Unfortunately, our drummer's got a physical situation. He's unfortunately contracted Parkinson's, but he's doing great. And he can't really play heavy drums, so we have another drummer, Matt Starr, come in and do the heavy lifting. Then Pat gets on the kit for a few. But we have our motto is no man gets left behind. So Pat's in the band, he's on stage, he's singing, and he's with us. But unfortunately, he just doesn't have the strength and finesse that he had before. But he gets up for a couple of songs, and it's so great to have him with us still. And we're so happy that the affliction hasn't been so debilitating that he can't get out and tour. But unfortunately, we can't tour like a heavy, hard schedule like we used to when in our youth. But so it won't be. I'm sure we'll be all over the place, but it won't be as extensive as it could be. And then when that's done, I'm going to go back and do some more Winery Dogs.
Awesome, right on. Are you playing in San Diego? Any Winery Dogs shows soon?
Nothing. I'm off now until nothing is booked until next May for me. So. And that's a Mr. Big show, and I don't even know where it is. So we never choose where we play. We only play where they book us. So hopefully, once I'm free and the band's schedule is open, we'll be back to San Diego ASAP.
Awesome. Right on. Can't wait till you come back.
Cool, man. All right.
Anything else? All good.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Right on. Thank you very much,
Thanks
Billy.
very much for having me.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. The first radio interview I've ever done in front of a
live crowd, yeah.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you very much.
All right.